Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. Today is the 1st of January, the first day of a new year. And it reminds me back on New Year's Day of 1999. Now, I don't know how many of you can remember back 23 years, but there was a big change took place on that day, because that was the day we switched over from the Irish punt, the pound, to the euro, and the euro came into force. And I was living in Dromiskin in County Louth at the time, and I can remember I had to go over across the road from our house to the post office, which was close by within walking distance. And I went into the post office, and there was a scene playing out that just really made me laugh, because the euro had only come into force as legal tender that day. And there was this young lad, probably 11, 12 years old, from the traveling community, and he was trying to buy 2 chocolate bars, and he was trying to pay for it with a 500 euro note. And I'm looking at the shopkeeper there, and he's looking at this note, and he's holding it up to the light, and he's trying to work out whether it's genuine or not, because he doesn't want to get caught out. Because if it's a fake note and he's given this young lad 499 euro on in change, he's going to really lose out. And he kept saying to the young lad, "Do you not have any of the money?" He said, "No, that's all I've got." And in the end, the shopkeeper handed the young lad his 2 bars of chocolate, gave him the 500 euro back, and said to him, "It's on the house." He just didn't want to take the risk with a banknote that he wasn't familiar with yet. And as I left, having got what I needed to pick up, forget bread or milk or something, and as I went back out of the door, the little lad still standing outside, and I said to him, I said, "There you are, you got some free bars of chocolate." And he said, "Hey," and he opened up his coat, and his coat was full of bars of chocolate. He says, "That's about the 20th shop today I've gone in and done that, and they all do the same thing." So it was a big change, and people were still getting used to things, and nobody wanted to take a risk, too much of a risk, with this new currency. Well, you know, I'm old enough to remember some other changes to do with our money. I'm old enough to remember back when I was 8 years old, when decimal currency came in. We were living up in Northern Ireland, and before then it was pounds and shillings and pence. You had 20 shillings in the pound, and you had 12 pence in a shilling, and all half a crown, and all this kind of stuff. And then suddenly it all became decimal. I can remember 1979, whenever the Irish punt and the British pound, up to that point, they were the same, one with one. And we were living in Northern Ireland. We could actually use both. We used to walk around with both British money and Irish money in our pockets, because it all was worth the same. And suddenly that all changed, and the shops in Northern Ireland wouldn't accept Irish money anymore. So there's been all these changes. And I guess the euro made it a bit easier. It reduced complications when you would travel to another country and they're using the same currency there. I still remember, before the euro came in, a trip to France where my wife went into a shop and bought something that she thought was £4, and she paid £40 because she couldn't translate our money into French francs. But the euro moved a lot of that confusion. But still, we have countries where there's exchange rates, where you go and you have to exchange your money from one to the other, and sometimes it still can get confusing. And I've discovered, I go to some countries, for example in Africa, where you can, when you get your money changed, you don't want to change it in a bank or a hotel, you get a better rate by meeting somebody on the approach road to the airport, and he'll change your money for you. But you know, God has a currency, and God's currency is a currency of faith. Because have you ever noticed how money doesn't always, you think it's a certain, if you think it's much or little, depending on how much it is in cents or euros, and yet it can go really quickly. In Haggai chapter 1 verse 6, it speaks there about people who were earning money to put it in a bag of holes. In other words, the money, they seem to have a lot of money, but it never seemed to last for very long. And you know, God has a currency, and God's currency is not the dollar, it's not the euro, it's not pound sterling, it's not the naira, it's the currency of faith. In both Mark chapter 12 and Luke 21, we're told about a woman who came to give her offering in the temple, and Jesus was watching the people giving their offering, and there was no secrecy, no putting your money in envelopes there. And he saw this woman putting in 2 little small coins, tiny little coins, like a little halfpence piece or something. And he says, this woman has given more than everybody else. He didn't just mean that it had cost her more. She had given more. What she had given was worth more than the religious hypocrites who dropped in the big wads of gold. Why? Because her money was given in faith and trust in God. And I've learned that God's currency is a currency of faith. And what matters when I give to God is not so much the amount in euros and cents, but that I give in faith. It's not a grudging thing I do, but I give to God trusting that he is my provider and he will always honor me in the matter of giving and receiving. And I pray that that will be your experience too as we move into this new year. May God bless you today, and join us again next time for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.